Yeah, it was cut off there at some point. So now for some reason, I feel like a bit restless. Had the strangest night again, and that's, I keep coming back to this point that you do things because you feel like them. Because if I don't feel like doing something, it's a drag. And I also need to get comfortable to do things while other people might hear me, because sometimes maybe there will be all kinds of disturbances. And if I always get annoyed because maybe there's a dog like throwing a tantrum, or there's like a child crying, or right now there's like, I know how you call that. It's like something you put up in front of a house with like metal bars and like, planks, so that you can walk over it and paint the house and stuff. So right in front of my window there's like the occasional handyman, or how you call that, walking past. So I could feel uncomfortable because they can basically look inside of here and they can see what I'm doing. But that shouldn't disturb me, because I've thought before about it, and then I made a conscious decision, this is what I want to do. So, I was done with my podcast, and then I realized, okay, I want to keep doing YouTube, because it's a different medium, and like I said, I like the videos. I just had to figure out a way how, that works for me. Specifically. And then I just have another one where I just plan out the whole year. But also now, I feel like there's some heavy emotion inside of me. Like some kind of sadness, and there's actually a topic I wanted to talk about was pornography and masturbation. Because yesterday I actually had quite a nice day. I had a coffee in the morning, and then I just grabbed an apple and a pear, and I went to go into the park, and I slacklined for a couple of hours, with breaks in between. And just when I was, packing everything up, a woman came, and there were two women, and they were watching me sitting on a bench. And they came and they asked me how long I've been doing this, and I said since 2012 I started with slacklining. And she said that every time I slackline, she comes and, they come and have a look. And it kind of, it was something nice to hear that somebody actually takes the time to look at what I'm doing. And that's what I mean, like you look at your statistics and nothing's showing. But maybe one person is looking at it already. And maybe another one will come later. So the longer you do it, how long have I been regularly going slacklining in the park? Because I like doing it. And the longer you do it, the more people will recognize you, because what people want from anything, like if they want to spend time with your content, you need to make sure that you keep going, because if you stop, it's already over. And now I've seen a lot of people on YouTube that suddenly just vanished because they couldn't keep up anymore. But I think the reason why they get to this point is because they weren't honest about what they were doing. Like, they weren't really showing themselves. They weren't honest about who they were. They were painting an image, or they were doing a kind of character, and I think a lot of people lose themselves in these characters, in these identities. But at one point you cannot maintain that anymore. Because if you sell yourself so that people will like you, you might get like quicker an audience, because if you like, funny, like and you show all these stupid things, people will come to you to have a good laugh, but actually you have nothing to say. Do you get what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people on YouTube that just do things, but they actually have nothing to say. They just use other people's content, but their real person is just, a shitty little guy who's depressed. They didn't work hard to find solutions. They just maintained an image that was basically a lie on YouTube. So that doesn't last long. You cannot maintain that, because you literally lose yourself and you forget who you are and you just start pleasing people. And that's why I come to pornography, because I just gave into it once more after this actually quite nice evening. I just ate nothing until 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock. And I was sitting in my room and I just tried to spend time without watching movies or, just reading books. And at one point I just went to bed, and then I just created some more content and uploaded that. But I didn't want to spend time on my laptop or anything. So I uploaded it this morning, but you see, I was laying there and I was trying to spend time with myself, also stroke myself a bit, like try to feel my skin, and I thought, it's kind of nice, but I just get so sick of doing this by myself. I just want somebody to spend my life with, like a woman. I don't need any man or whatever. I just would want one woman I can spend my life with, and it just seems so far away, and that kind of makes me depressed. And anyway, I gave in this morning at some point. I watched porn again, and I realized, it's actually not what I want. I want something different. And then I was going into the shower, and before I watched an anime, and the topic was loosely around something with prostitutes, not entirely, it was about gangsters, but there was a prostitute. And while I was in the shower, I thought, actually pornography is prostitution. Because they basically sell themselves, and you can see it. You can see it because I look at these things, I observe myself, and I really look at the emotions that happen in these, especially the women, and how often can you see that, anal sex videos, and that the woman is just faking it, but the guy doesn't care. He doesn't care that she's faking it. And also just the regular sex, they're all prostitutes, they're all faking it. Sometimes they're not even wet. You can see it, that they're actually not aroused, they're just oh. So it's all fake, it's like prostitutes. The only thing is you don't really pay with it with money. You pay with it with your time and your energy and your life force. And every time you do it, you become a bit thinner, you're a bit less you, and you're a bit less alive. And while I was in the shower, I actually asked, how can I stop this? Because I've been struggling for years with this, and every time I think I've managed, it comes back. And when I got this insight, why did, somehow this prostitute in the anime, it was telling me something, and I tried to, I was lingering on that image of prostitutes, what does it tell me? And then I realized, holy shit, pornography, it's basically, they're all prostitutes now. And I said to myself, I would never go to a prostitute, but I do it every time I watch porn. I watch, I go to a prostitute basically. And that's just the lie I've been telling me, that I need it or that it's okay, but it's absolutely not okay, because, sex should be something sacred, and I don't even think that sex really does justice to what it actually is about. And I had this voice in my head while I was showering, and it said, let go of your sexual desire. And I thought, what does that mean? Because I was struggling for most of my life, like many years already, always want to have sex, and also especially recently, like feel myself craving for it. But I also realized I actually have no idea what it is. Like, what is it? Like, really, I think it's about being one with another person, like experiencing oneness together. And I don't think sex has anything to do with it. And that's why I said to myself, when I ever, am together with my wife, I want to have sex with psychedelic mushrooms once, because what I've learned that with psychedelic mushrooms, you can operate outside of your normal behavior more easily, because because of the substance, it distances yourself from all these ideas you have of sexuality. And at the one hand, it makes me quite scared to even think about it, while on the other hand, I know it would be worth experiencing. But I also know that I only want to experience that with the person who will be the mother of my children. Because this is something very intimate, especially with psychedelics, and you shouldn't fool around with this, is my belief. Because this is connection on a deeper level. And I know that what I have been taught about sexuality is a bloody lie, and I hate it because it's so hard to get out of this, to use sexuality as like a means of making yourself feel good once in a while, like drinking coffee. And it shouldn't be used like this. There are some people who only have sex to bear a child. I don't think that's how I want to practice it, but whatever it is, but like sexuality is like a spiritual practice. And I think that's what Tantra is about, and Tantra is something different than sex. It's something completely different, and it just makes me sad sometimes to think about these things and then realize how far away I am from my true self, from my nature, and certain things, and that includes diet, and that includes like all these kind of spiritual practices. Kind of makes me sad to think about these things, but it's just how it is, and just to make the most out of it, and then just keep going and moving onward. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, like planning out things and then you just keep going. Because there are so many things that may like depress you. I think that's also kind of a made-up word. I mean, what's a depression? It's just like a low point. But there's so many ideas on this word of depression, and most of these low points we create ourselves because we just invest our energy into the wrong things, like watching porn or drinking too much coffee. That's not really sustainable. That energy doesn't really go anywhere. It cannot take root. It's just like gone suddenly. It's just like watching movies. It's just like a waste of energy, actually. You can use it, of course, to get some insights and to pass the time, but it's actually just a waste of energy. It's such a waste of energy to watch movies. Even reading books, I find, it's like a waste of energy. I would rather do something else, but right now, it's just something that gives me new ideas, and so I work with it, but I find it kind of tiring, and I get annoyed of reading other people's stuff, so... But yeah, maybe I'm also a bit on the edge, because yeah, there's so many things I would like to get on with. Literally, this being alone is really okay, but yeah, I don't want it anymore. It's so bloody boring. I just had this morning a conversation with my mom, and it was about friendship, where I said, you know, I don't give a shit about friends. And she agreed. She said she never calls anyone a friend because the same experience I've had, there are no real friends. You know, if it comes to it, they all like bailed out. I don't have really any friends because they either were using me or I was using them, and you know, I would call them like companions for a part of the way. And what I see as then a Shakti or my wife would be somebody who goes with me, you know, as long as it lasts. And that's why building your own family should be like a priority. And that's one of my definite goals, which is why I say I don't need friends, you know. If you want my advice, you know, read my book or something. But I don't need friends because I've played, you know, I've played with people. Now I want to teach my children. Now I want to teach people what I've learned. But for that I also had to know what I learned. So I reflected a lot and I observed a lot. And that's what I mean with some people don't know what they're talking about because they just fool around. And you can fool around all your life, and if your brand is fooling around, then you will fool around and you will be a fool. Well, as I don't want to be a fool, I want to create a life for myself, and I want to take myself serious, you know, as much as I can, but I'm done like playing the idiot. It's kind of tedious work, and yeah, like respect, right? Figure out what a man is, like a real man, and then live up to it.